In Transformers 1, we learn that Megatron wasn't always the metal menace we know and love. He started as a simple miner on Cybertron, pushing rocks and struggling with whether or not he was honestly content with just doing that. The legends of the Primes inspired him, filling him with hope and ambition, but life as a miner was anything but hopeful. He tried to keep his head down, follow the rules, and help out in a war he knew nothing about, bringing about change in the only way that he thought that he could, while having to balance that out with the troublesome but hopeful optimism of his best friend Orion Pax. Optimism that was definitely welcomed given the fact that the miners were slaves, cogs in a bigger machine, rusted and tattered, broken and battered. The unfair treatment he witnessed daily, no, the unfair treatment he himself was subjected to, fueled a fire inside him, a fire that would eventually lead to something far more destructive. It just needed a little wind to push it in that direction.
Don't you want to stop him? No, I want to kill him!
The breaking point for D-16 came hammered home with the gavel of Betrayal. He idolized Sentinel Prime, seeing him as what a leader should be, someone humble enough to praise even the miners such as himself, someone strong enough to lead soldiers to war, risk his life for those that can't defend themselves, a hero in a world that needed saving, a light in a time of dark, desperate, lonely survival.
Nobody does it better!
But once the facade was gone and D got to see who his hero could truly be, that's when everything changed. Seeing the Prime's tyrannical grip and the oppression of the miners turned his admiration into seething resentment. The role he cherished as he believed it was for a greater good, keeping everyone alive with the energon he mined, was now stripped away in an instant. Everything he did was for the betterment of the very beings that they were at war with. His lack of a cog was brought about just to force him into slavery, and his ignorance to that fact had him shackled the whole time, grateful servitude to a lying scumbag. He realized the only way to bring about change was through power, absolute power. It was this realization that marked the beginning of his transformation from simple worker to energon-thirsty warrior out for revenge, akin to Anakin Skywalker's descent, but with a lot more metal and a lot less sand. Sentinel Prime used manipulation to gain his position, put himself on a pedestal of power that nobody dared to question because nobody truly had reason to until his true nature was exposed. Whenever we get to see the evil of the Prime, we also get to see the change that D-16 is going through, since even the darker side of his idol is noticeable within his turn. The biggest difference is that when it's all said and done, Sentinel couldn't back it up and cowered in fear, something D never did, even as he was under the heel of his old hero. D-16 wasn't just a cog in the machine, he was a thinker, quick on his feet and willing to put himself at risk for others, shown when he saves Orion from getting caught by guards, when him and Orion save Jazz, I believe, from the energon mines collapsing, and when against all odds him and Pax are able to make it to the finish line in a race that they were never even considered to take a part in.
And the miners have fallen way behind. We can now focus on the real contenders in this race.
His intelligence and charisma quickly won him followers among the disillusioned. Even before he was Megatron, his actions during the race caused the miners to work harder, hard enough to
reached 150% quota.
His speeches were electrifying, filled with promises of a new order to right the wrongs that Sentinel did, equating power to the ability to lead due to his experience while in the presence of the elite guard. It didn't take long for him to amass a loyal army, ready to challenge the status quo, reminiscent of how Starscream rallied his followers in the scene I just mentioned, except this time there's a real leader at the helm, and Starscream, well...
All hail Megatron!
The transformation into Megatron was as much a psychological shift as it was a physical one. By inserting Megatronus Prime's cog into himself, D not only gained immense power, but it also solidified his new identity as a power to rival the Primes that came before him, the Prime that Orion became, the Primes that fell to one of their own. This was the birth of Megatron and the official rise of the Decepticons. Just like in all the media that came before, Megatron declared, "I am Megatron," and this was the final straw that broke the camel's back and marked the death of the bot who was D-16.
I'm done saving you.
It's so surreal. Through the veil, beyond the sky, do you hear me? Do you try? Between the echoes, lost in time, I reach for you, but you're not mine.
One of the most tragic elements of Megatron's story is his relationship with Orion Pax, who by the end of the film we know as Optimus Prime. Once best friends, their bond was shattered as they found themselves on opposite sides of the war, with Prime wanting mercy to prove themselves to be better than the likes of Sentinel and rebuild Cybertron in the hope of a better future. Megatron, however, wants to rebuild Cybertron on the bodies of those that corrupted it, trusting only himself to restore the planet to its former glory and willing to snuff the spark out of whoever gets in his way, not hoping for a better future, but willing to double down and create it by destroying the present and everything in his wake. This betrayal added a layer of psychological complexity to Megatron's character, showcasing the emotional toll of conflict, of war. Two sides of the same coin were torn apart by ideology, and this was cemented the moment that Optimus bans the Decepticons from the city, an action that Megatron saw as a declaration of war.
This isn't over, Prime.
In almost every iteration, Megatron's leadership is marked by his unyielding resolve and ruthless tactics. If there is ever a sequel to Transformers 1, and I really hope there is, even though it may not have been a financial success, the setup is hinting at the same things happening in this timeline as well. He believes that the ends justify the means, willing to sacrifice his best friend and endanger the citizens of the planet he calls home just to purge out the memory of the leader that came before. His vision of a new Cybertron will be marred by the violence and destruction that he is willing to inflict, and I have no doubt that it'll be far more heinous in the future. Efficiency and ruthlessness will go hand to hand, and I am extremely hopeful that we can see it come to life on the big screen yet again, so we can see
A stronger enemy. A personal enemy.
the heart of Megatron's conflict with Optimus Prime lies in the philosophical divide. Megatron sought control, believing that dominance was the only path to peace. Optimus, on the other hand, valued freedom and equality. This ideological clash is a tale as old as time. Do the ends justify the means? Is it better to be feared or to be loved? Megatron is feared, but that fear brings about respect. Again, shown whenever Starscream is defeated by him and later declares his loyalty to him. It's rule with an iron fist, and for those deceived by a leader that supposedly led with love, is a realistic and understandable change in perspective. Megatron isn't inherently evil. He was hurt, broken, and he rebuilt himself. Now he wants to make a difference with the power that he has in the way that he sees fit. A way different than the betrayer that came before, and a way different than the bot that he used to call a friend. Wow, while you can view that as tyrannical or evil, his story is honestly just deeply human. Ironic, I know. It is one of ambition, betrayal, and the corrupting influence of power, something we see in our day-to-day lives in varying ways, that we see in our governments time and time again, and that we ourselves could be enticed by. Hopefully Starscream reflects that in the future if he is written similarly to other iterations, and longs to be the one on the throne once again, but I guess we'll see. Regardless, Megatron's legacy continues to shape every Transformers show that he is a part of, for better or for worse. His character arc here showcases the repercussions of war, the mental strain that comes with betrayal, and the strength it takes to decide to become the person you want to be, even if it means going against everything you have ever known. Even in defeat, Megatron's impact is felt, reminding us of the thin line between hero and villain. As Optimus Prime said, and we quote all the time, "Freedom is the right of all sentient beings."
Freedom and autonomy are the rights of all sentient beings.
This is the sentiment that separates the fall of D-16 and the rise of Megatron. For more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day. Thank you.